Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. Every time I think this story is dead, it's not dead. And why isn't this story dead every time I think it's dead? Because Charles Hoskinson cannot stop talking about XRP, even though he has said time and again, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not going to talk about this, I'm not going to engage in this, I'm not interested, things of those effect. Keeps talking about it. So here we are. I will say this though. Like, bit of progress here, a little bit of progress in a way. So I'll tell you this here at the outset of the video. Charles Hoskinson, a co-founder of Ethereum, founder of Cardano, who, when did this story start? Has it been 2 months at this point? I can't remember, like all the days and months seem to blur together. But he called the XRP community, many people in the XRP community, individuals that are engaging in what he called a grand conspiracy, and indicated that many people in the XRP community are fabricating a grand conspiracy. And that is not the general position of people within the community. And he said a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't true. I don't want to relitigate that. I'm just not in the mood. I'm just going to assume for the purposes of this video, you guys are aware in a general sense of what has happened. But he has said so many things that are not true. He has mischaracterized the position of people within the community. He has made himself out to be the victim. But he apologized today. Sounds good, right? He apologized. Except for he apologized without admitting that he did any of the wrong things that he did. So, look, I'll say this. Look, I'm a reporter on it. This is an XRP-centric YouTube channel. It's a story. Everybody's talking about this. I'm going to talk about it here. But I would like this story to be dead just as much as everybody else. And I'm happy to let it go that route. I do not want, and I've said this from the beginning too, Charles says he feels harassed. Okay, well, I think that he was an instigator in this. I think that he started this whole thing, but I still don't want him to actually be harassed, even though I've lost a bit of respect for him because he's just, my God, well, for every reason that I've cited, leading up to this. Despite giving him the benefit of the doubt from the beginning. So just setting that aside, I still do not want him to be harassed. I don't want people to just be jerks to him for no damn reason. So we can rise above that, but I'm still going to say my honest opinion here. And I'm still disappointed. Okay, fine, it's nice. He put out a little apology thing. I'm going to share with you the specifics here. But again, my problem, the reason it's grinding my gears a little bit is because he's not acknowledging that all of the mischaracterizations he put out there were actually mischaracterizations. Even today, he's still mischaracterizing in a thread that led up to the apology. He's still mischaracterizing what XRP community say. And it's provably true. Like, it's so obvious. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so the way that this started was, it was just an attorney John Deaton thread, which I always enjoy. I always love hearing his perspective. And he was talking about, from a regulatory perspective, what's been going on with Congress, what's been happening on as a result of SBF, of course, was the CEO of FTX, the Ponzi scheme exchange, which has now collapsed and is in bankruptcy. He was tweeting about that. So that's where this story starts. But then Charles Hoskinson jumped on in, as you'll see here in just a minute. And things got worse before they got better. And I'll tell you this, and props and credit to attorney John Deaton, he's just been nothing but civil the whole time towards Charles Hoskinson, despite consistently having Hoskinson mischaracterize what attorney Deaton was saying. So it's fine if this is truly going to be the end of it, and this is the last video that I ever make on this topic. Super duper. I would love that. But, the facts are still the facts. I'm just saying. So here's what attorney Deaton said. Every legitimate person supporting blockchain technology, decentralization, and digital assets desperately desires regulation. Had the U.S. implemented regulatory clarity with specific guidelines in 2018, like it should have, innovation, job creation, tax revenue would have rocketed. Consumer protections could have been implemented. Proof of one-to-one reserves for any exchange or platform, the segregation of consumer funds and crypto from being commingled, disallowing the loaning out of consumer funds, protections disallowing bankruptcy from being used as a strategy. But as usual, our political leaders only react, they never act. And when you react to a crisis, you usually go too far. You do something stupid, S-T-O-O-P-I-D, that's me now, you didn't say that. Usually do something stupid because these politicians want to pretend they're doing something after the fact. For example, what was the first reaction by some of our leaders? This senator, who's this guy? Gal. My bad. I didn't remember. Senator Debbie Stabenow, and also Senator John Boozman wanted to move forward with the DCCPA, the bill that SBF helped write and promoted while spending $30 million lobbying politicians to get on board. It is as if these leaders don't think before they act because they only react. The UK's Financial Conduct Authority has provided some clarity and guidance on digital assets. Japan's FSA has provided some. Switzerland, Singapore, the UAE, etc. Because the US hasn't, it has driven business activity offshore, increasing the chances for fraud and corruption. Ask yourself, why was Gary Gensler meeting with SBF and not Brian Armstrong or Jesse Powell? Who is, it says he's still the CEO. Am I mistaken? Am I tripping? I thought that, I know he's a co-founder of Kraken, but didn't he step down as CEO? Am I totally tripping? Maybe I am. Whatever. Anyway, and then Deaton says, even giving Gensler the benefit of the doubt, why SBF and not the largest exchange in the US, which has a broker-dealer license? Excellent question. It looks like there's a little bit of favoritism, and I don't think it's a coincidence that this is because tens of millions of dollars were donated by SBF. Right? Come on. And then somebody jumped in and said, watch out, John. Charles Hoskinson, and then you take Charles Hoskinson, is sitting back and thinking you are making up another grand conspiracy, LOL. And Attorney Deaton responded to that and wrote, I'm just posing questions. Like I said, you don't have to assume Gensler was doing anything wrong behind closed doors with SBF to ask why did SBF have such incredible access to regulators. Charles should be in there talking to regulators way before SBF, in my opinion. That's my point. And folks, this is where Charles Hoskinson jumped in again after saying, for the umpteenth time, nope, I'm done with this conversation. I don't want to talk about Ripple. I don't want to talk about XRP. And you talked about how we had harmed the relationship with the rest of crypto by pointing out things that are just facts, and he says it's a grand conspiracy, all that crap. But he injected himself in here again. He didn't have to, but he did. And at first it went downhill before there was this apology where he didn't actually admit that anything that he said or did was wrong. He just apologized for hurting feelings. You'll see as we go through this. So here's what Charles said. I literally spoke before Congress this year. I've engaged with regulators extensively. What doesn't help is making an entire community believe that Joe Lubin bribed the SEC to go after Ripple. This madness damages any hope of a healthy relationship. Oh my God, it's like... audible sigh and facepalm. I'm sorry. Who's saying that that Joe Lubin literally bribed the SEC to go after Ripple? Isn't it the case that we're just pointing out that there's favoritism? The SEC, doesn't it, the appearance of improprieties? That's more specifically what we're saying, right? There's the appearance of impropriety, and really sufficient evidence to say that actual impropriety occurred in a number of ways. Even if you're not talking about specifically Lubin, if you're talking about Hinman, most certainly. They're just facts that the community is aware of, and it's been circulating for a long time here, but he's mischaracterizing what we're saying as a community. Who in the community is saying that Lubin literally brought, like, that would be a fringe opinion within the XRP community. That's not even the reason we were upset. He said that people in the XRP community were creating a grand conspiracy, and then he cited what it was. And if you just look at the facts and circumstances, it's not a conspiracy. It literally is not a conspiracy theory. Certainly not a grand conspiracy theory. And he'll never own that, though. He won't own that. Okay. But yeah, this idea that, our position as a community on the whole, and I know it's not like a sentient being, like there's a bunch of different humans out there. XP community is gigantic, millions and millions and millions of people. Okay, fine. But that's not what the community on the whole thinks is going on here. That Joe Lubin runners like, hey, not only do I want a free pass, go after Ripple. It's just that there's clear instances of impropriety in a general sense with the way that the SEC has been behaving on many fronts. That's pretty much it. That's not wacky. That's not a conspiracy. It's certainly not a grand conspiracy. And so Attorney Deaton responded and wrote the following. Once again, you speak without knowing the facts. If you read my tweets, you would know that I've said I don't blame Lubin for seeking clarity or even a regulatory free pass. I said Brad Garlinghouse was doing the same and would have accepted it as well. My focus has been on Hinman. Charles responds, a free pass for Ethereum has zero material impact on the Ripple litigation, especially given that your argument is that it would be a security, but they were bribed to not make it one. So what, both Ethereum and XRP are securities? Jesus Christ, man. So he's got the emotions going on there. You can see that. And then Attorney Deaton says, Charles, if you care to truly know what my argument is in the case, not what other people say or what you assume, it has been publicly filed. It's an amicus brief in the case. It certainly isn't what you are claiming here. You can attribute what's in that brief to me. Exactly. And so this is just the latest in a series of events over 6 or 8 weeks, whatever it's been, where Charles Hoskinson is just asserting things that are not true. And he has just a massive following. He's up to what? 965,000 followers now. He's a leader in the space, but he just keeps saying stuff that isn't true. And unless you're paying attention, if you're in the XRP community, maybe you know, but unless you're really paying close attention, he's built up a bunch of trust with a ton of people. They're just going to take him at his word, and the XRP people sound kooky, and Charles Deaton must be wrong. Well, Charles Deaton, John Deaton must be wrong. No, though, it's Charles that is wrong. I've gone to painstaking length to break down in the past everything that was said chronologically to prove that what Charles is asserting is the case is factually incorrect. That's what's actually going on here, and that's why this really steams my vegetables. So now, the conversation on Twitter splintered off, so I have to open a separate thread here. Let me make sure I get to where I think it's this one now. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, here we go. Attorney Deaton also said, maybe you shouldn't attribute random trolls that say things to me. How about you point out something I've said that is not based in fact? I've said Lubin could have been more gracious with the regulatory free pass he received, but no one could blame him for trying to get one. Charles Hoskinson says, I've been relentlessly harassed by an army of XRP trolls since this entire debate began. Why the hell do you guys care about my opinion? Pause. Charles, at this point, come on. Look, you're a leader in the space, so people are curious about what you have to say. Fine, cool. You deserve to have some attention paid to you. And I understand that you're a net plus to the space overall, but you deserve to be called out here, and you're going to continue to get called out for this nonsense. Why do you guys care about my opinion? You keep jumping back in the damn conversation, Charles. You just literally did it again today. That's why we're talking about this. Of course we're talking. You jump back in. Yes, we're here. We're here for it. We're not kicking you out of the conversation. You're welcome to say your piece. If we think you're wrong, then we're going to say it. I sure as hell think that the strong majority of the way that you've handled this and things you said on this topic ever since the story broke, however long ago it was, 6 or 8 weeks ago, I think it's been wrong. I don't think it's been grounded in reality. Whether it's intentional or not, I don't know. Either way, it's bad, though. And then Jen Charles says, why is every tweet now filled with people using the grand conspiracy tagline? It's your fan base. Tell them to stop. No. Charles, you're not getting away with this. You said the same crap when you didn't like what David Schwartz had to remember what David Schwartz had to say? He said something along, I'll paraphrase here. David Schwartz, Ripple CTO, co-creator of the XRP Ledger, he publicly stated on Twitter, and I'm paraphrasing, that there's a lot of stuff I could say about the happenings on this exact topic, the back and forth, the grand conspiracy comments, but he said, but mostly it just makes me sad. Again, paraphrasing, but that's what David Schwartz said. And then you threw a hissy fit, Charles. You went on stage with Ben Armstrong of BitBoy Crypto, publicly on stage. To tens of thousands, if not over 100,000 people have seen what you've said at this point. And you were... I wish I remember the exact words. It was highly offensive. I think it was along the lines of grow a pair, effectively. And you were telling David Schwartz that he needed to tell his followers to get in line and stop harassing you. You were delivering the same message. So David Schwartz, it's his responsibility? I don't think so. I don't think that David Schwartz is fantastic. I'm a big fan. He's not the god of XRP, okay? Neither is John Deaton. Both fantastic people. But for you to come here and then act as though they're in charge of the millions of people within the XRP community, and it's their responsibility, John Deaton's and David Schwartz's responsibility to tell people how to behave when you're the one that's out of line starting this, no, that's rubbing me the wrong way. That is completely ridiculous. So you already complained about David Schwartz, and now you're saying it's John Deaton's job, as if he can control them. It's ridiculous. And so, but Attorney Deaton, you'll see he did play ball because he was a nice civil adult. He's a professional. And here's how Attorney Deaton responded. You have no idea how many trolls attack me. Some alleged ETH holders, some XRP holders who say I'm going to F up the case as amicus. My law firm gets emails threatening my life. I've told people to let it go. I was on a podcast and said I bear no ill will and let it go. So let me just pause and note there the degree to which that is true. Attorney Deaton has been saying that for the longest damn time. He said let it go. He's certainly encouraging people to not attack Charles Hoskinson. He's been very consistent in this. Okay, it's not like this is the first time he said something like this today. Okay, and then Attorney Deaton says, I wish I had the influence people think. I publicly said don't email the judge, but people did. I said don't contact lawyers or witnesses in the case, but people did. Some people implied that when I said don't contact people, it was a dog whistle to contact people. You can't win. Exactly right. And it's not Attorney Deaton's fault. You know, the fact that Hoskinson is blaming him for what he perceives as horrendous transgressions against him and these attacks and harassment, that is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. Well, then why not name other big names? So you already said David Schwartz, it's his fault. John Deaton's fault? Okay. What about Brad Garlinghouse? You know, what about Alderati, Stuart Alderati? You know, what about Wietse Wind? You know, just pick whoever's building on whatever. It's just whoever you're talking to in the moment you want to blame them. That's what it looks like to me. And so then Charles Hoskinson wrote, so are you going to ask your fans to stop harassing me or not? So he's putting out a demand there at this point. That was this morning. Now, again, if you just go back to this tweet where I'm circling, for those of you looking at the screen, John Deaton wrote, I've told people to let it go. I was on a podcast and said I bear no ill will and let it go. Did Charles not read that? John Deaton, he already did it. He already did it more than once. And then Charles Hoskinson is asking him to do it again. As if it's all because of Attorney Deaton, which is just this absurd concept. But again, Attorney Deaton, being the adult professional that he is, he played ball. He humored Charles Hoskinson. And I respect what he did. I really do. I really do. I'm still frustrated with Charles Hoskinson because he's just, to me, it looks like lies. Like, I don't know how he couldn't know that what he's saying isn't true. That's what it looks like to me. But still, that's fine. If we're just going to wind this thing down, Attorney Deaton is being the adult in the room here. He certainly is. And so he retweeted that from Hoskinson and said, as I said on the chain and on Twitter, I don't consider Charles Hoskinson an enemy of XRP. This space has real enemies who perpetrate fraud, as we have all witnessed. As I've said before, please don't contact or harass any person, including Charles. Let's all please move on. So there you go. Attorney Deaton being crystal clear. He's been delivering that message for a long time, but Charles Hoskinson, he was throwing a little bit of a hissy fit, and he needed more. He needed even more. Okay, so here, I want to share with you this tweet too. This comes from the Bearable Bull, my fellow XRP YouTuber, and I was kind of thinking the same thing, so I thought I'd highlight this on my channel. The Bearable Bull wrote the following. In response to Deaton there, he said, is he going to stop calling us conspiracy theorists for presenting factual information that he's too lazy to look up? Curious to know if these requests go both ways. Well, amen, brother. I was wondering the same damn thing. But no, the answer is no. He's not retracting all the false things that he said. He just gets away with saying all this stuff. He's got so many followers, and most people aren't looking into it. Now the XRP community knows, but that's about it. And then you've got this. Charles Hoskinson retweeted that from Attorney Deaton and said, thank you, John. I apologize if any of my XRP comments hurt anyone. Let's all move on. Okay. Fine. We can all move on. It's fine. It is. I mean, I only talk about this when you bring it up, Charles, just to be honest. So fine. He put out an apology for hurting anyone's feelings, but he didn't admit that anything he did was wrong. We're not going to get it, folks. Don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath here. So I'm certainly not. But that's fine. Like, I wasn't expecting it even before today started. I just saw, I was like, oh, here's more crap. Ah, damn it. Now I got to make a hot jam about this. Oh, actually, we don't have hot jams these days because the market's down and we're now the Moon Family Sedan channel. So we have like tepid jams to maybe like lukewarm jams. That's all that we can muster these days. That's pretty much it. I'll go ahead and wrap up here, though. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan. Yay, Family Sedan, so fun.